Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 8, series 1 of the tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to taxi. So I'm just going to line up with the taxiway and show you on 8 different aircrafts how to taxi and what it's like for each aircraft in taxiing. Okay, so now for taxiing, you need to click Shift 5 to bring up the overhead panel. Turn on all of the lights except the landing lights and the strobe lights. So make sure that you've definitely got the taxi lights on. When taxiing, you have to be going at about 15 to 20%. So push the throttle forward slightly and then your speed will show up here. When you get to a corner, you may want to slow down a bit by braking. However, do not pull back the throttle. Also, you may want to use an overhead view to make sure you get the turn perfect. And then that's one turn done. I'll taxi around a little bit more of this aircraft and then move on to the next 7. And that's it for the 737. It's pretty easy to taxi with, not the best, but it is very easy to taxi with. The next aircraft is the 747. Okay, I'm now back with the 747. Now I'm just going to go ahead and taxi straight away. Now with the 747, the flight deck is a whole deck higher, so sometimes it does make it more difficult to taxi with. that's taxiing a 747. A 747 is a lot harder to taxi than a 737. The turning is a lot harder. Alright, the next aircraft is a Bombardier CRJ 700. Okay, this is the Bombardier CRJ 700. So I'm now going to taxi this. And that's the Bombardier CRJ 700. Very easy to taxi with, actually. I'll say it's the best aircraft I've taxied with so far. The next aircraft is a 146-200 jetliner. Okay, this is the British Airways 146-200 jetliner. I'm now going to taxi with this. And that's the 146-200 jetliner. It was actually quite hard to taxi with, about the same as the 747. You may have noticed that I have to use the brakes a lot to make the turn. The next aircraft is the Airbus A321. Okay, this is the Airbus A321, and I'm now going to taxi with this plane. and that's the Airbus A321. As you probably saw, it's quite hard to taxi with, not the worst that I've done. It's certainly better than the 747. The next aircraft is the Airbus A380. Okay, this is the British Airways Airbus A380 jet, and we now taxi with this. Okay, and that's the Airbus A318. Very easy to taxi with as well. Most of these planes are. Just a couple that are hard to. And the next plane is an Airbus A319, so the one up from this. Okay, this is the Airbus A318, so one up from the previous aircraft. And that's the Airbus A319. Slightly harder than the A318, but very slightly. I did have to brake a little bit more. And the next and final plane is the Concorde. Okay, this is the final plane, a Concorde. Obviously, as you can see, the centre gear is a lot far back from the cockpit, so this also makes it difficult to taxi with. was taxiing the Concorde. It was very hard to taxi with, probably harder than the 747. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. My next episode is next week. It's episode 9. It's just how to fly around generally, a free flight. And thanks for watching.